After working an extra shift, a young woman eventually returns home late at night. A cab passed her by, but got taken by a bunch of men. So, she is forced to walk home on a dark road. A van with a driver named Do-sik approaches her. He offers to drive her home, but she refuses to ride with someone she doesn't know. She hears some strange noises. After walking a little further, she looks around and notices the van door is open. Someone was crying and pleading for help. She moves in closer for a quick peek. She sees a bundle of clothes and a dead body. It turned out that the noises were made by Do-sik. He catches her and drags her inside, trying to murder her before she can run. He dials 911 a few moments later. He then gets dressed and meets two police officers. He acts like he's in a lot of pain. He refers to the spot where he dumped the bodies as if he discovered them by chance. He claims he witnessed the woman being stabbed by a group of workers. Such a mastermind. A few days later, a girl named Kyeong-mi is working at her customer service desk. She is a young woman who is deaf, so she deals on video calls with other deaf and mute customers, talking in sign language. She attends a company dinner after work, even if she is unable to participate in the discussion. All the males at the table take full advantage of her deafness. They talk about her in a terrible and improper manner. They had no idea, however, that she could read lips. So, she signs back plenty of insults that they misunderstand as compliments. Clever girl. She then drives to her deaf mother's workplace, a tailor shop, to pick her up. Using her car's sound sensor, she prevents her from being nearly overrun by a bike. Her mother is overjoyed since she has been nicely paid this month. Now they too can enjoy a beach vacation of their dreams. Choi So-Jung is getting ready for a night out in another area of the city. Jong Tak, her older brother, has been overly protective since their parents died, complains with her about her outfits and when she needs to get home. She promises to be a good girl, but then ignores his brother's calls and texts. She's out on her date and doesn't return home as early as promised. As a result, Jong Tak resolves to go out and find her. When Do-sik goes out to find another victim, it's late at night. While looking for a parking spot, he notices Kyeong-mi leaving her mother near an alarm post. He decides to follow her. So-Jung appears at the same time, walking down the same street. As a result, Do-sik plans to murder her instead. He moves forward and leaps on her. Because Kyeong-mi's mother is deaf, it remained undetected. She's also walking in the opposite direction. He moves on to Kyeong-mi's mother after he's finished with her. However, his goals are disrupted. Firstly, Jong Tak approaches the girl's mother and inquires if she has seen his sister. However, he receives a negative response. Kyeong-mi then emerges from the parking lot. Lot of going on at once. Who will be his next victim? On her route to see her mother, Kyeong-mi noticed a white shoe appear from a dark alley. Somebody is crying for help, but she can't hear it. Soon after, another shoe is thrown, leading Kyeong-mi to check the alley. She comes across a crying, bleeding So-Jung, who is pleading for help. Before she can react, Do-sik assaults her with an axe. However, So-Jung pushes him away, allowing Kyeong-mi to escape. When Kyeong-mi sees her mother, she returns to the street. To protect her mother, she chooses to run in the opposite direction and returns to the parking lot. As she finds her way to the back door, she hides among the cars. She tries to open it slowly because it has a squeaky handle. Do-sik hears the noise and follows her. Thankfully, Kyeong-mi escapes just in time. The other side of the door is chained, so it can't fully open. However, it is enough wide for a petite girl like her to pass through. As a result, a bigger man like Do-sik is left behind. Kyeong-mi gets into her car and dials her mother's number. She urges her to go to the alarm and wait for her. But as soon as she hangs up the phone, Do-sik emerges in the back seat. He forces her to drive with a knife in his hand. Any guesses what she will do? Rather than bringing him out of the parking garage, she drives straight into the wall. She comes to a stop just before they are about to clash, taking the opportunity to run. The chase is on again. Kyeong-mi makes it to her mother before Do-sik and pushes the alarm button. As a result, Do-sik is no longer able to approach. The women are waiting for the cops. He goes back to his van and hides So-Jung's body there. He transforms his appearance by changing his attire and hairstyle to that of a typical businessman. Later, with a casual look, he approaches the women. Because the killer was wearing a mask and a hat, Kyeong-mi doesn't recognize him. So, Kyeong-mi trusts him when he says he's seeking for his sister. She's going to walk him down the dark alley when the cops show up. The alley is clear when the officer arrives. Kyeong-mi asks to see the surveillance cameras. However, the guard said that kids who hang around there to smoke have turned them off. The three of them are then transported to the police station to file a formal report. Do-sik constantly checks the weapons in his backpack and looks at the women in the elevator. It is noticed by Kyeong-mi's mother. She believes he doesn't seem to be as upset as he was before. He takes out a black phone from his bag to keep his cover. He pretends that he received a text from his sister, and thus the body was not hers. Kyeong-mi ended her statement a few moments later. But without a body, or a brief description of the killer, the officer won't be able to do anything. Do-sik is willing to assist. The cop, on the other hand, confronts him for disturbing other people's statements. The hobo resting on a side couch takes the opportunity to insult him as well. Do-sik sees a chance and heads to the water cooler. He criticizes the hobo in a low tone while picking up a cup, so the officer is unable to hear them. This irritates the man, who leaps at Do-sik and punches him. Do-sik loses a white phone on the floor during the battle. Kyeong-mi's mom picks up phone. The cop grabs the hobo and places him in a different room. Do-sik gets his phone back. He also uses Kyeong-mi's statement as an excuse to look into her personal details. The mother signals Kyeong-mi while he reads. She claims she is suspicious of the man's need for 2 cell phones. He notices they are communicating via sign language. He demands to know what's going on. For him, Kyeong-mi just writes nothing. So, Do-sik goes over to the mother. He begins looking through his tools in his bag while planning his next move. Cop with Jong Tak appears at that exact moment. He's trying to trace his lost sister. The officer instructs him to give the photo to the remaining 3. The description relates to Kyeong-mi's assertion. Do-sik acts as if he's never seen her before, but Kyeong-mi recognizes her right away. She gives him her statement and more information to analyze. Cop exits the room to deal with the hobo, who has begun to re-enter the premises. So Do-sik uses the opportunity to warn the mother not to move or he'll kill her daughter. After that, he shows her what's in his luggage. He grabs a knife and approaches her daughter. The mother makes a loud noise, which alarms the others. Jong Tak makes a quick spin and stops the knife. As a result, the 2 men start fighting. The women rush to contact the cops. Jong Tak is enraged when Do-sik admits to hurting So-Jung. He starts punching Do-sik and almost slashes his neck with a knife. He demands to know where his sister is. When the cops arrive, Do-sik acts to be a victim. The officers trust him because of their bad position. Instead, they detain Jong Tak. Do-sik is allowed to go freely. The women remain with Jong Tak. The cops observe the security cameras and conclude they are telling the truth. Jong Tak returns to the streets to find his sister. The women are taken to their flat by the cops. They've a light system installed that blinks when it detects movement. The mother and daughter enjoy the tea. The light flashes to alert them that someone is at the door. They are concerned because it's really late, but it was simply the mother's co-worker. She came to get a few bags. Kyeong-mi is left alone when the 2 old women leave together. Do-sik had sneaked in, but she was completely oblivious of it. He also destroyed the sensor outside the door. As a result, the light will not reveal his presence. However, his steps are spotted. Kyeong-mi goes out of her room to look into it. Do-sik makes an alarm clock ring to fool her into thinking the lights were flicked on by it. She returns to her room and switches off all the house's sensors. Meanwhile, she texts Jong Tak. He had offered her his card in case she needed anything. Do-sik takes out his axe, preparing to strike. However, Kyeong-mi realizes that a toy on the dresser has been activated at that very moment, yet it has no effect on the lighting. She dodges Do-sik's strike by turning around just in time. She dashes to another room and slams the door shut with a dresser. She texts Jong Tak to inform him that the murderer has arrived. She then texts her mother, telling her not to return. She gets a text stating she's already there as the door stops banging. She discovers the door open and fears for her mother's safety. As a result, she proceeds to shift the dresser. Soon more messages from her mom show up. They have excellent spelling, she notices, whereas her mother actually doesn't type that well. She realizes Do-sik has her mother's phone. She manages to stop herself from shifting the furniture just in time. He slips through the gap in the door and reaches for her hand. Kyeong-mi is able to pull the back and close the door in his face. However, this does not keep him for long. As a result, Do-sik begins smashing the door with his axe to enter. Kyeong-mi jumps out the window because she has no other option. However, as she falls, Do-sik grips her hair. She fights the grasp and eventually gets him to let go. It causes her to land safely on a garbage heap. Kyeong-mi resumes her run and Do-sik chases her. Soon, Jong Tak locates them and follows. They pass through a large number of blocks. In a closed space, Do-sik attacks Kyeong-mi. Jong Tak enters just as Do-sik is ready to attack her and meddles. Do-sik threatens to murder himself by putting his own knife against his neck. If he kills himself, Jong Tak will never know where his sister is. He forces him to pick one of the 2 girls. Do-sik messages So-Jung's location. Jong Tak leaves after apologizing to Kyeong-mi. He actually received Kyeong-mi's address. Do-sik had obviously lied since the home was empty. Jong Tak runs into the mother, who is coming back. Meanwhile, Kyeong-mi tries to protect herself with a chair she found in the trash, but Do-sik grasps it and ties her to the ground. He phones Jong Tak and accuses him of being a horrible person for abandoning her. Meanwhile, Kyeong-mi grabs some dirt. She shoves it at Do-sik's face to distract him. She throws him away and continues her run. When she gets to the street where his van is parked, she notices the door is open. With a knife in her hand, So-Jung emerges, requesting help. When the mother and Jong Tak arrive in the closed area, area, it is totally empty. The two females run and hide in an alley behind a garbage bag. Kyeong-mi instructs So-Jung to dial 911, but she refuses because she hears Do-sik nearby. He discovers that the van is empty. Kyeong-mi thinks of a solution. She leaves a message to So-Jung on her phone. It states that she should contact her brother because he is close. When Do-sik turns around, she leaves the alley with a knife and hides. She only returns when he is on the point of catching So-Jung. With her mouth, she creates a strange noise. She finally gets Do-sik's attention by rattling a nearby metal shutter. She threatens to kill herself by placing the knife at her neck. Do-sik follows her since he wanted the satisfaction of killing her. Kyeong-mi starts running after touching the alarm on the pole once more. Meanwhile, So-Jung dials her brother's number for rescue. With the help of an ambulance, he and the mother go to her aid. So-Jung informs them of Kyeong-mi's escape route. This time, Kyeong-mi races towards the central city. She thinks that by having more people nearby, it will be difficult to get caught. She has a hard time crossing the busy street because she can't hear the cars. She makes it to the other side after a few scary seconds. She enters a downtown area and tries to seek help from passers-by. They ignore her since she is unable to speak. Will she get saved? Do-sik is coming onto her, leaving her with no choice but to defend herself. She pulls out the knife, causing everyone to take a step back. A man in the audience makes an attempt to phone the cops, but Do-sik interrupts him by claiming that she is his sister having some problems. As a result, the cops would scare her into harming herself. Kyeong-mi takes advantage of the opportunity to leave. The police eventually find her after a while. They return her to Do-sik, believing the sister story. They also return his knife to him. Kyeong-mi begins to cry once they've left. She begs him not to kill her, claiming that she still has a lot of things to do. Do-sik leads her to an alley nearby. He claims she came pretty close to persuading him, but it wasn't enough. He prepares to stab her. Fortunately, Jong Tak arrives and stops him. The two men get into a fight. Jong Tak manages to choke Do-sik by grabbing his neck. When he passes out, he lets go. He then goes to see how Kyeong-mi is doing. He informs her that So-Jung is safe at the hospital and that her mother is close by. Do-sik, who is simply pretending to pass out, interrupts him. He slams empty bottles and other rubbish into Jong Tak, but picking up the knife, Kyeong-mi convinces him to stop. As a result, Do-sik decides to exit the alley. Instead, he goes after the mother. He discovers her in the center of the shopping area. He invites her to join him down in a dark alley. However, Kyeong-mi notices them at that same moment. With her knife in hand, she chases him. Because she fails to stab Do-sik, he mocks her. She just managed to injure his hand instead. She placed the knife in his hands and stabbed herself, giving the impression that it was he who did it. The audience takes a step back, believing the trick. When he said it wasn't him, they didn't believe him. When the cops come, they fire warning shots into the air, but Do-sik does not stop moving. As a result, they fired him in the body a few times. This wasn't enough, especially because Kyeong-mi annoys Do-sik by pointing the finger at him. Do-sik is about to make another attempt, but Jong Tak arrives on time. He slams him to the ground, where he eventually dies. Kyeong-mi and her mother went to the seashore a few days later. They are having the vacation of their dreams. So-Jung and Jong Tak also joined them. They reveal how they've been studying sign language. They all pose for a photo together. Soo Yeonjin is a middle-class girl, striving to study in the best university. When she meets a boy at her school, her life turns upside down. He helps her in her studies and makes her a better person. They both eventually get close and fall in love with each other. But on their graduation day, when he proposes to her, she decides to separate from him while giving a farewell kiss. Will they ever reunite again?